This video is going to teach you the absolute foundation of what crypto mining actually is and how it all works, as well as what you need in order to get started. The video is perfect if you're just getting into mining now, or if you've been mining for a long time but actually never really bothered to learn the basic theory behind it all. To start, we're going to touch on what cryptocurrency actually is and how blockchains work, but of course the main focus of this video is going to be on mining specifically. So let's get right into it after a quick word from our sponsor. Coin Mining Central is an online store for ASIC miners, and there's no doubt that right now ASIC mining is by far looking like the most profitable type of mining, and the miners that I'm personally most interested in right now would probably be the Bitmain L7 and E9 Pro, as well as the Jasminer X16Q. And what's cool about Coin Mining Central is that they always offer free worldwide express shipping, and I've always felt fully comfortable recommending them to you guys, and here's why. As opposed to most other ASIC vendors that are based overseas, Coin Mining Central is based and run out of England, Europe, where they have to adhere to the very strict regulations for customer support and personal detail protection that we have over here. And of course, all brand new miners come with a full manufacturer warranty as well. And because of this, Coin Mining Central has been a highly trusted ASIC miner store for miners like you and me for over 5 years at this point. They also care about this community, being very active and reachable on social media, and they've also provided loads of exclusive discount codes for you guys that you can use together with the link in the video description to save big on any miner that you want to get. And speaking of prices, I don't know if you've noticed, but ASIC prices have been dropping dramatically these past few months, so right now could be a very good time to stock up on some cheap hardware before the crypto market recovers, especially considering you get the already competitive pricing that Coin Mining Central has, plus the free worldwide shipping, plus the exclusive discount codes that I mentioned. So go check that out today. I'll have all of those discount codes and the exclusive link for you down in the video description. Now, most people at this point know that cryptocurrency is basically just digital money. But how is that different from, let's say, the digital money in your mobile banking app? Well, there are two main differences that I want to touch on today. But in practice, there are of course way more differences than that, depending on how detailed you want to get. But basically, when we talk about digital money, what we're referring to is storing a unit of monetary value on a computer. The immediate problem with that, however, is that, computers can copy things. So if I have $1 on my computer, what's stopping me from just copying that $1 a million times and now I'm a millionaire? Well, with internet banking, you're stopped from doing that by the bank, because the bank is the one actually keeping track of how much money is in your account, and they are the ones handling how much money is going in and out of your account at any given point. One of the main problems with this that the first cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, sought out to fix was the fact that having one single centralized entity, in this case the bank, be completely in charge of people's money can become a big issue if that bank, say, collapses or gets corrupted or gets hacked, or someone at the bank just simply decides to steal all your money for some reason. And in a very simplified way of explaining it, the way Bitcoin solved that problem was that instead of storing the information of how much money each person has and who is sending how much to who in one single location, usually the bank's server database, and with only one entity, the bank, being allowed to manage that, with Bitcoin, that information is basically stored on thousands and thousands of different computers all over the world, and basically anyone can go in and change anything. But if that change doesn't match with what's on all of those other thousands of computers, then that change is disregarded. So how is a change actually made then? How is money actually moved between different people's accounts? Well, a transaction can only be initiated by the person that wants to send the money. That person then sends a message out to the whole Bitcoin network saying, hey, I want to send this amount of money to this account. There are then a few layers of security to validate that that message is actually legitimate, and if so, the transaction is fulfilled. All the transactions are final, and there is no way to roll back or undo transactions after they've happened. The way this works is by using something called a blockchain, which is the way transaction data is stored on the Bitcoin network. Basically, it's a system of data that can only be added to, so no information can ever be changed or erased. For example, if I send you some Bitcoin and then you send that same Bitcoin back to me, that would be recorded permanently just like that. First I sent it to you and then you sent it back to me. It wouldn't just be erased since the two transactions cancel each other out, and it wouldn't just overwrite the initial transaction with the second one or anything like that. Rather, the way it works is everyone who wants to make a Bitcoin transaction sends out a message to the Bitcoin network, and then once every 10 minutes, all the transactions that have been validated and marked as legitimate within those past 10 minutes get written into one big single chunk of data called a block, and that block gets permanently written onto the end of the block from the previous 10 minutes, which in turn was written permanently onto the end of the block from 20 minutes ago, and so on in one long chain of blocks, which is where we get the term blockchain. And previous blocks can never be erased, changed, or overwritten. You can only ever add new information to the next upcoming block. So there you have a very basic explanation of how pretty much all major cryptocurrencies and their blockchains work. Now, in real life, of course, it's a lot more technical than that, but I tried to really simplify it here to make it as easy as possible to grasp the general concept of it all. And with that, let's move on from general cryptocurrency theory to cryptocurrency mining. So the big question here is, when a new cryptocurrency first starts, right at the beginning of the very first block on the blockchain, where do all the coins come from, and who gets those coins? So if we stick to Bitcoin for our example here, as that is still the base for how most mineable cryptocurrencies work, in the very beginning, no coins at all existed. But before we get into where the coins actually come from, there's one thing we need to learn about first. So we know that once all the computers on the Bitcoin network around the world have validated all the transactions that are to go into the next block, that new block gets written onto the end of the blockchain. But the question is, who actually gets to write that block onto the blockchain? Well, a system was needed in order to randomly select one of the computers on the network to actually write that block. And this is where mining enters the picture. So, in a very simplified way of explaining it, for each new block that is yet to be written onto the blockchain, a random number is selected. It is then up to all the computers around the world currently working on the Bitcoin blockchain to guess what that number is. And the first computer to correctly guess that number wins and gets to write the block on the blockchain. And after that, a new random number is picked for the next block, and the whole process starts over again. Now, every one of these guesses at the target number is called a hash, with the amount of hashes a piece of computer hardware can perform per second being referred to as its hash rate, and the total amount of hashes on the whole Bitcoin network being called the total network hash rate. So, when we talk about mining hardware, like mining rigs or ASIC miners, we often talk about their hash rate, which basically is a measure of their mining performance. Now, the more the network hash rate grows, meaning the more guesses at that target number are performed in total per second, the harder the number actually gets to guess. And this is what's referred to as the network difficulty. Now, this is all well and good, but what does that have to do with the initial question of where do all the coins actually come from? Well, on a very fundamental level, how this all works is that whenever a new block is written onto the blockchain, 50 new bitcoins are created out of nowhere and paid out to the person who correctly guessed the target number and wrote the block. This is what's called the block reward, and it is where all the bitcoins in existence originally came from. So the very first block on the blockchain obviously had no transactions in it, as no coins had been created at that point. But once that first block had been written onto the chain, 50 coins was paid out to the person who wrote or mined that block, and from there on another 50 coins was created every 10 minutes with each new block. So in a nutshell, that is the theory of how crypto mining works. We make our computers guess numbers until someone guesses the correct one, and that person then gets to write all the information about all the transactions from the last 10 minutes onto the blockchain, and by doing so gets paid with the block reward. Now, there are a few quick things to note here, which is that the amount of coins paid out per block can vary between different cryptocurrencies, as well as the time between each block can also vary between different cryptocurrencies. Of course, there can be many other differences as well, but for now, that is what you need to know. I should probably also mention block reward reductions here, which is that most cryptocurrencies have built-in functions where every so often the amount of new coins minted and paid out to the miner per block is reduced. For example, on Bitcoin, the block reward is cut in half every 210,000 blocks, which is roughly once every 4 years. This block reward halving is considered a very big event when it comes around once every 4 years, as it means the incoming supply of new coins onto the market is cut in half overnight, which historically has driven up demand and therefore coin prices. Oh, and another quick thing I want to add here is that the miner who gets to write the next block not only receives the block reward, you know, the freshly minted coins we've been talking about, but every transaction on the network also comes with a small transaction fee, which is also paid to the miner. So now that we've learned the theory of how crypto mining works, let's talk about the practical process of actually mining crypto. What do you need? How do you get set up? How do you get paid? And what can you do with your mined coins after you get paid? So let's start with what you need in order to mine cryptocurrency, starting with a wallet for the coin that you're actually going to mine. A wallet is basically the crypto bank account that we spoke about earlier, which is where you will receive your mined crypto to. And the wallet will provide you with what is called a wallet address, which is basically like your account number for this bank account. Now, there are loads of different types of crypto wallets out there, but for the sake of just getting started in an easy way, some multi-coin wallets like Exodus, Zelcore, Atomic, or Trust will all have you up and running in just a few minutes. Between the 4 of them, they support most coins that you're gonna wanna mine, and if the specific coin you want to mine isn't supported by any of them, I recommend visiting that specific coin's website to see what wallets are available for that coin. Now, we're going to cover wallets and keeping your mined crypto safe more in depth in an upcoming video, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that coming out on the channel soon. But moving on. Next, we need some sort of computer hardware to do the actual mining with. And depending on what coin we want to mine, we'll in most cases either need a computer with a powerful CPU, usually referred to as a CPU mining rig, a computer with multiple powerful graphics cards, called a GPU mining rig, or a purpose-built mining machine called an ASIC miner. I have a video covering all of the differences between these different types of mining hardware. I'll link that at the end of this video as well as in the video description below. Next, we also need a crypto mining software, which is basically a computer program that we run on our mining equipment in order to perform the actual hashing. You know, the random number guessing in order to try and solve the next block and get paid the block reward. Of course, I'm going to cover in depth in upcoming videos what you need in order to actually build these different types of mining rigs, what different mining software there is and how to set those up, as well as stuff like how to pick what coin to mine and different crypto mining strategies. But for now, there are 2 more things I want to cover in this video. Mining pools and how to turn the crypto you've mined into regular money like dollars, euros, pounds, or whatever currency of your choice. Next up, let's talk about mining pools, which is basically just a way to get together with other miners in order to mine as a collective. The reason for doing this is to reduce the luck factor involved in mining. As we learned earlier, the only person who gets paid in mining is the person whose mining rig actually manages to guess the target number correctly. But since it is all just guessing, you do run the risk of just being super unlucky and never being the one guessing correctly, which means you'd never get paid a single coin for all of the mining you've done. With a mining pool, however, you get together with hundreds or sometimes thousands of other miners, and in doing so, it is pretty much guaranteed that as a collective, you will all be mining blocks on a pretty consistent basis. Just because of the sheer size of people in the pool, someone in the collective is bound to find a block pretty regularly. And the way mining pools work is that when a person in the pool does find a block, the block reward from that block is shared equally between all the people mining in the pool based on how much hash rate or mining performance each person in the pool is mining with. So a person with a hash rate of 200 hash per second will get paid twice as much as a person with 100 hash per second for each block the pool finds. Now, you don't have to mine in a pool, and instead you can do what is called solo mining, which basically just means mining completely on your own, not getting paid a single coin unless you actually solve a block. But if you do, you get to take home that full block reward all to yourself. Now, how to connect to a mining pool is something I've already covered in, I guess, pretty much every single mining tutorial video on my channel, but I also do have a more general video on how to mine any coin and connect to any pool coming up as well. But with that out of the way, let's finally talk about how to turn your mined coins into real money. So you've been mining for a while and you've got a good amount of coins in your wallet that you are wanting to cash out. To do this, you're going to have to use what's called a crypto exchange. Now, please note that I'm just going to cover the basics of what crypto exchanges are and how they work, so this won't be a step-by-step tutorial on how to use a specific one. both because what exchanges are actually available differ greatly between different countries around the world, and also because using them is a pretty straightforward process. So, what is an exchange first of all? Well, basically, just as the name suggests, it's a place where you can exchange your crypto coins, both for different coins, like exchanging your mined Bitcoin for Dogecoin, or for exchanging crypto for regular money, like dollars, euros, pounds, etc. To do this, step 1 is to sign up for an account on the exchange you're wanting to use. When doing so, exchanges will usually require a lot of personal information about you, as well as a copy of your ID. This process is known as KYC, short for Know Your Customer, and it's the same type of process as what banks have to do when you first open an account with them. Basically, it's a legal requirement that can look slightly different depending on where in the world you are, and it's in place to protect against any sort of shady activities. Once you have signed up with the exchange of your choice, in your account on that exchange you should be able to find a new wallet address for the coin you are wanting to swap or sell. Next, you need to open your wallet where you have your mined coins, and there should be a section for sending coins in there. In this section, fill in the wallet address from your exchange account as the receiving address and the amount you want to send from your wallet to the exchange, and hit send. This transfer request is then sent onto the network just like we spoke about in the beginning of this video, and once it has been validated and written into the next block, the coins should show up in your account on the exchange. At this point, the process should be pretty straightforward in terms of selling or swapping the coins on the exchange. And once that's gone through, you should now have either the different coin that you swapped into ready for you to send out of the exchange and into your wallet, or if you sold your mined coins, you should now have a money balance in your exchange account, which there'll now be a few different options available for getting that money off of the exchange and into your regular bank account, like wire transfer, cashing out to a PayPal account, and more. Now, just keep in mind that mining and cashing out crypto is most likely going to be viewed as a taxable event, and how that all works more specifically will of course be different depending on where you live. So it might be a good idea to get set up with a good crypto tax software right from the start in order to make it easy and save yourself a big headache later. What I'll do is I'll leave a link to one called CoinLedger down in the description below, and I believe I also have a discount code for it that I'll put down there as well. And please subscribe for more mining videos. We're actually getting pretty close to 100,000 subscribers here on the channel, which is absolutely amazing, and it really shows how strong the mining community really is. Now, over here on the screen, I'll link my video explaining the differences between different types of mining hardware, and below that will be my latest video on the channel. So, I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.